All right. We're live despite all of the confusion. Sorry about that, guys. We miscommunicated about some things. So, my name is Brian. I'm here with Allison. Welcome to Honey Badger Radio. And this is Maintaining Frame number... What number are we on? 19. And we're going to be talking about an article written by MEL Magazine regarding the Johnny Depp Amber Heard court hearings. Because
Yes.
MEL Magazine has the best takes on these things.
Yeah, the best. Also, I wonder if they even have a magazine without us. To be
I
honest.
know, right? Well, they need us as a subject of discussion, as well as people who actually read their articles.
We're probably sending them. Like we're probably.
But we're keeping them above water, right? That's why they keep writing about
giving
men's
them an
rights
audience.
activists.
Yeah, but at least they're keeping us in the eye.
Yeah,
It's an interesting strategy that they have, especially this one, since Johnny Depp is his support in the public is overwhelming. It seems.
it is. It is.
You
It
know,
is.
and-
It's nice.
So
It's
if they're going to go and say, well, Johnny Depp, men's rights hero, I'll take it.
Yep.
Okay, if you want to brand it like that, if you want to frame it that way, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Well-
I'm on the side with Johnny Depp. I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Yeah, I can handle that. Okay, I can make myself be satisfied with that. I can see the positives, the silver lining.
Yeah,
You know what I mean,
yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, I do. I do have a little concern though. I am concerned
concern.
because, well, I guess maybe I'm being ungrateful for the support that Depp is getting. And I am happy that he is, getting all the support he is getting. However, the reason for the support is the thing I'm not sure about, because there certainly are people who are looking at, the holes in the argument. They're looking at the evidence. They're looking at, all of the footage and the exhibits, and they're looking at his testimony and they're looking at her testimony, and they're coming to a rational conclusion, right, about all of that. And that's why they are siding with Johnny Depp. But then there are Johnny Depp stans. And the Johnny Depp stans side with Johnny Depp because they like him, and that's it. And
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I would say honestly, from what I've been reading on Twitter, the Johnny and yes, there are probably Johnny Depp stans who stand with him no matter what. But where were they, in 2016 when this was all going down? Because he didn't have this level of popular support. Everybody was, believe
Yeah.
Amber Heard, believe the woman. Because, people with uteruses, and it's just people with uteruses, sorry, trans women, people with uteruses do not lie. It's not that we can't handle the idea that they lie, and because we have so many instincts about giving resources and protection to people with uteruses, it's the fact that they just don't. They're just angels, You got a uterus, you walk among the clouds with God. And that's what it was like in 2016. So where were they then? There was a bunch of people who did look at the evidence and inspected it and said, yeah, this is Amber Heard is the abuser, way back then. And as the tide of public opinion turned, you see more and more people on Johnny Depp's side. And sure, where were you in 2016 when it probably really mattered? But on the other hand, I think I think it's not necessarily Johnny Depp stans that are the ones who have turned their opinion. It's people who just are swayed by public opinion. And maybe in the best scenario, being swayed by public opinion, they've been swayed by public opinion to actually take another look at the facts and come to a rational conclusion. I would say it's not the effect of Johnny. The public support that's coming out now isn't necessarily the effect of fans of Johnny Depp. It's maybe more likely just because the public opinion has turned.
Sure. So it's become like safer to side with Depp
it's
over
become
time.
a lot safer to side with Depp over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, there would always be those hardcore fans who will believe him no matter what, which isn't appropriate either. You know, facts and logic and evidence is what we should believe, not the genital configuration of the person making the assertions.
Yeah. Right. Or how dreamy they are.
Or how dreamy. And the other thing is that when I look at the tags supporting Johnny Depp, I see a lot more. Look at the evidence. Look at what this is saying. Look at what that is saying. Look, factual analysis and cutting through the emotional aspects of the case. Then when I look at the people who are still supporting Amber Heard. In particular, I remember listening to, and I believe that Hannah actually referenced this in her advertisement of a stream a couple weeks ago. There's a audio out there where Amber Heard is trying to stalk down Johnny Depp as he's trying to escape into various bathrooms and bedrooms in his mansion and trying to escape her and her aggression. And the Amber Heard stands listen to that, or they presented that as evidence of Johnny Depp's violence, because he said, when you come, it's fight, fight, fight. When you find me from where I've been hiding from you, it's fight, fight, fight. And they're like, well, yeah, that's evidence that he's the one. And it's like, no, it's not. He's saying what happens when she finds him and why he's trying to escape from her. And it's when you listen to the people who are Amber Heard's side, it is full reality distortion going on. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it's full, like, I don't know a better word for it, full gynocentric reality distortion going on. In that they're hearing and seeing things completely different from the actual on-the-ground reality. And Hannah pointed that out. She said that if you were listening to that, and if it was a man stalking down a woman and trying, getting into every bathroom that she's trying to hide in, every bedroom that she's trying to hide in, there's no question. Not 100% of people would say that he is the abuser because she's trying to escape him. And yet, when it's Johnny Depp trying to escape Amber Heard, literally Amber Heard fans are using that as evidence that he abuses her by trying to escape her verbal and physical abuse. Yep. It's this really stark look into how people warp their thinking when it comes to female victimhood and or female aggression and male victimhood. And it's really astounding and a little disturbing too, Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's to answer your question, I don't think it's just Johnny Depp stands. I think it's the fact that the public tide is turning. And one of the reasons why I say that is because Amber Heard is an attractive woman. And she's a woman. So no. So being really attractive is super helpful. I mean, we know that too. Yeah.
But in this case, the playing field might be considered level because looking at a really attractive man and a really attractive woman to most people. So then it just has to come down to level, well, I'm saying more. It's more. No, well, go ahead. What were you? I don't think it's even, but I know it's not even.
Johnny Depp has already lost once.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say it's even. I honestly think that Amber Heard is more likely to win than Johnny Depp, even with all the evidence on his side, even with the leveling factor of the fact that he's more charismatic. He has much more in terms of character witnesses. And exes who are willing to stand up and say, no, he wouldn't do this. He was never the way that Amber Heard portrayed him in the relationships with me. I mean, despite all of that, despite having literally everything in his camp, Amber Heard's still a woman. So it's like, it's not an equal playing field in the slightest. What we're looking at is we're looking at basically the top 99.999% of men who are accused of domestic violence. Like Johnny Depp is in a class of his own. Every other
Mm-hmm.
man accused of domestic violence, falsely
Mm-hmm.
accused of domestic violence, doesn't have his wealth. And if they do have his wealth, they don't have his fame, his popularity, the cachet of his presence, like the type of character he presents as. They don't have public record of his charity and how kind he is to people. They don't have exes who are willing to stand up and vouch for him. You know, they don't necessarily have the level of evidence that he has. You know, it's like this is Johnny Depp is in a class of his own in terms of being a man falsely accused of domestic violence. He's a unicorn. He has literally everything going for him, everything, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter.
No,
He's
it
still
doesn't.
it's the odds are he's still going to lose because he's up against a woman, and that's that's the base level truth of the matter.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is the power that women have in our society, and feminists don't think they have enough because
Oh,
Johnny
absolutely.
Depp isn't destroyed. And it doesn't matter that he's not guilty. It's that
Yeah.
Amber Heard wasn't able to completely destroy him. He is able to fight back, and feminists, at least the ones who put all of this, the institution in place that's been supporting Amber Heard, you know, that Don Hughes, that doctor who testified about Amber Heard's, well, I mean, functionally they're lies because there's all kinds of evidence against it. And that woman is part of an industry that was put in place by feminists, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that industry and the feminist push towards making it more and more difficult for men to fight back against an accusation with the truth. I mean, they look. This is it. Like the fact that Johnny Depp can actually fight back is their rationale why they need to put in place even more of a means to prevent that.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's their
I
excuse.
believe it's true.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we get into MEL Magazine?
Yeah, let's get into it. I did get a super chat
A
from
Rumble or a Super Chat? Oh, okay.
a super chat and a super chow from the news show, but it looks like it's directed at Randomercam, so maybe I'll read it out for Dr. Randomercam the next time we do a show together.
Oh,
And I'll
just to
try
remind everybody,
bear in mind.
please send those super chows to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And make sure to get that in so we can afford the Badger Cave for the month.
Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm getting my voice back. So whatever it was, yeah, I know I can like sing again. I won't do that here, but I think it's like I'm feeling a lot better. I don't know what it was. My voice just became really hoarse for a little while, and now it seems to be back to normal. So don't know what I did. My body does weird things. I've been to the doctor for stuff that I thought was serious, and they thought it was serious, and then it wasn't, and they were like, "Oh, well, I guess you're among the 5% of people." And I was like, "What?" But then I also had cancer, so you know, you give, and there's a little, you know, push and pull there. There's a little bit of balance. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, off subject. You were talking about Superchow.
Oh yeah. So just send those super chows to feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
Yeah.
And we will get those messages. Those messages will not be seen by anyone but us. So no PayPal eyeballs on it, no YouTube eyeballs on it. And we really appreciate it because the amount goes totally to us, which is the best deal that we get.
Yep.
As opposed to, you know, Rumble's not bad, but YouTube takes 50%.
Yeah, you can use Rumble to send Rumble rants, which are like super chats for Rumble. They don't take as much. I am looking at Rumble's chat right now. So, you know, it's not like you're not gonna be ignored. I'm also looking at the chat for Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So again, you know, feel free to communicate. And I will try my best to like keep my eye on my eyeballs on everything. So.
And also, the Just the Tip, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can put something through at any time. So after the show, if there's something that you want us to talk about the show, and it pops up within our Discord, so we see it, and we can have that discussion maybe at the next stream. And if you're a patron, we can always have that with you in the patron Discord. All right, so
All
back
right.
to the let's get to the MEL Magazine. We started late, and
I know. I should read this super chat though, really quick. Okay, so Meredith G gives us $5 and says, because JD, that's Johnny Depp, allowed his team to talk him into signing a non-disclosure agreement, the libel cases have been the only way or he can defend himself in the court of public opinion. Yeah, and I mean, the court of public opinion can be, I think that's really the main person you want to win against. I mean, ideally, Johnny Depp will win his libel case, and it will have, it will allow him to like get some damages for, Amber Heard's allegations and all that. And that would be the ideal situation. But if he loses to Amber Heard for whatever reason, if there's some technicality, if the judge is biased, whatever it is, I think that he's going to be okay in the court of public opinion, which means that he may like be able to then, find work in Hollywood, because at the end of the day, despite, Hollywood's own, let's say, bent, towards like the Me Too movement and their support of Time's Up because it makes them a lot of money. I think that despite all that, they also want to make money through what they do. And if Johnny Depp is, remains in good standing with the fans or with the normies, then he's likely going to put asses in seats, and so they'll probably give him work. So hopefully that'll be the case. But thank you, Meredith G. Okay, so let us now go into the article. So this is from MEL Magazine. And you guys, I don't know if you know, but we have responded to a number of MEL Magazine articles because, first of all, they love talking about men's rights activists on melmagazine.com. The other thing is it is supposed to be a website for men because they're associated with Dollar Shave Club, right? I always get my like different shave
Dollar
groups.
Shave Club.
Yeah, Dollar Shave Club, which is supposedly a men's thing. I would suggest you guys maybe, get Harry's or there's like some new thing that's very popular right now, some shaving product, and not Dollar Shave Club. And yeah, of course, even though it is supposedly a website for men, it is tremendously feminist, really woke. And so their whole thing is discrediting MRAs, which, by the way, I think says that they're afraid of us, which is a good thing because it gives us an idea of like, because they remember that when they just ignored us, remember that? They can't do that anymore. So or dismissed.
They can't. It does seem to be like that we're a constant thorn in their side.
Yeah.
Although
that's what I mean.
Mel's pretty trivial in terms of media outlets.
It's like they are, they have this mansion. And they're living in this giant mansion with several rooms and, a gigantic garage for like, 20 cars. And they go out onto the patio overlooking the hedge maze. And there's some wasps building a nest underneath the patio. And they have to do something about the wasps. And we're the wasps. Building a little nest under that. Maybe it's not even wasps, because wasps, they sting. Maybe so, though. They could just be bees, They're just building a little space in all this shit that they run, and they're like, well, we got to deal with these bees.
I mean, I think we're pretty... Well, actually, maybe we do have sort of a low level... Like, oh my God, it's like a bunch of honeybees. They don't really sting. But they do build stuff and they protect each other and they do other stuff that's positive. And they pollinate the crops that, we need to eat. But fuck, they're just unaesthetic. Let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
They ruin the vibe.
That's what I think. I mean, it's like no dissent allowed. And anyway, and especially this case, the Johnny Depp thing, because like you said, Johnny Depp has a lot of support. People are, I don't know if it's waking up. I mean, some people are waking up to the facts of, that a man can in fact be the abused party in a relationship or marriage. What were you going to say?
I'm just going to say that there's a lot of people who probably see a loved one in Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah.
They've said that. I've seen like a man in my family or a friend who's gone through the same thing, an abusive woman who's empowered by the system to continue to abuse and silence her victim. And then there's also women who have been abused who say, when I look at Amber Heard, I see my abuser. Yep. And I'm not surprised because her body language is like she unconsciously mimics the body language of an abuser. If you look at the body language of Amber versus the body language of Johnny, when they're talking about violence, like when Amber Heard starts talking about, fists flying, her fist is up in the air, being thrust. Whereas when Johnny talks about the same stuff, he's ducking as if he's about to be hit. When you do that, it's really difficult to fake that kind of body language because you go immediately to the kinesthetic memory of what you were doing at that time. Yeah. So it's like she's betraying herself that way. I'm not saying it's conclusive proof. It's just sort of adding up. And women are looking at that. Women who have been abused are seeing their abuser. Even if there was a man, they're seeing their abuser in Amber Heard's behavior and her words. And it really speaks to the fact that abuse is a behavior, not a gender. And any group of people who are trying to gender abuse aren't serving any victims of abuse, even the ones they say they serve, even female victims, because they're denying the fact. They are, instead of seeing abuse for what it is, they are distorting it into something that they can use politically. That means that they are using female abuse victims as political tools. And that's despicable. I mean, I'm setting aside what they're doing to male abuse victims. That's also despicable. What they're doing to female victims. And I've never seen that more clearly stated than watching, female abuse victim after female abuse victim saying that when I look at Amber, I see my abuser, even if it was a man. And I know that the people who insist on turning abuse into a gender rather than the behavior are not advocating for any victims of abuse. They're just using it, and it's despicable.
Okay. So let's get into the article then. This is written by Eddie Kim. Dispatch. I guess they have a subcategory called Dispatches from the Manosphere.
Oh, someone new. This is
it's not Miles. It's not Miles Klee.
It's not the gay guy who insists that he just totally does not find virile, masculine young men attractive.
Yeah, that guy. Not him.
Ben. Not him.
No,
okay.
No, not him. I don't know who this Eddie Kim is, but I'll look it up later. So it's let's go ahead and jump in. Johnny Depp, men's rights hero. Large swaths of the manosphere are portraying Depp's defamation case against his ex-wife Amber Heard as an existential moment for men everywhere. And of course, this is the serious, important part of this, is that men, they're seeing this and they're saying, holy shit, maybe I've been abused and I didn't acknowledge it, or maybe now I can say something about it.
Well, that's critically the critically important bit here, again, is to just maintain the narrative, right?
Yeah.
It's everybody who advocates, then they say men's rights, and it's like ho ho ho, chuckle chuckle, or whatever, horror or humor or whatever. They're. It's like you realize that we are advocating for male victims of domestic violence and their right to see justice. That is possibly one of the biggest parts of our platform, as well as victims of false accusations, and their rights to see justice and to be protected by institutions that talk about being about justice. Those are the rights that we are trying to advocate for. And of course, individuals on the other side find that hilarious or disturbing. Because God forbid that men have rights, you know? God forbid.
Yeah. All right. It's the first week of the $50 million defamation trial for Johnny Depp, who is suing his ex-wife Amber Heard over her claims that she was repeatedly assaulted and abused over the course of their relationship. This is an ugly case with the evidence of toxic, violent behavior from both parties who met on the set of The Rum Diary in 2009 and tied the knot in 2015. All right, so this is an argument I have heard. Now, of course, if you're using the feminist definition for what counts as violent, it's basically disagreeing with women, or that and up. Even if you use like harsh language, let's say in a moment of anger, you call a woman a bitch, even if she's being a bitch at the time, according to them, that's abusive and violent language. So they're equivocating, or they're basically trying to say that, Johnny Depp said mean things, because to my knowledge of everything that I know of, the evidence that Johnny Depp was a equal participant in the abuse, the only evidence they have is he was slamming cabinet doors, which he was obviously not slamming that much because he didn't break them, and that he said nasty things, and that's it. And I mean, like, whether or not they're nasty doesn't necessarily that doesn't make them violent, obviously, but it also doesn't even mean that they're particularly nasty, because language used by people under certain context is, maybe more nasty than to other people, so it doesn't mean anything. Meanwhile, Amber Heard cut off a part of his finger, at the very least.
Yeah, and also was hitting him.
Yes.
I want to just apologize. My cat is insisting on going. He wants to go outside really desperately, so I need to pick him up and put him into his kennel outside. I'll be right back.
All right, go ahead. That's fine.
I can hear you while I do this. This is a process.
Yeah, it's cool. So they're saying both parties, and I just I'll take a moment to comment on something else, because I've seen this around, and not just from feminists. Obviously, feminists they're desperate to try to continue to keep the attention on Johnny Depp being the abusive party, partly because they've already invested a lot into that narrative, and they can't back out now, because when Amber Heard first put it out there, they all jumped on board. But also because there's a broader narrative at risk, which is that, people who probably already know this in their bones will actually confirm to themselves that men can be victims of abuse in lopsided relationships, especially because of the way things work now, right? So if Depp were to hit her back as for self-defense, he would have just been done. He knew he couldn't lay a finger on her, so he just let it go. That's what I believe, okay? But you also get this from some conservative commentators. I will say, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Steven Crowder has been very fair, for the most part, in assessing what's been going on, because at the end of the day, he's basically trying to say, look, this can happen to men, full stop, this is evidence of it. And I think that is a very fair thing to say. You don't have to like everything he says, but that right there is fair. But then other people like Matt Walsh have had some really shit takes where it's basically, well, I don't know why we care about them at all. They're both pieces of shit. And I'm like, that's not what's on trial here. We know that they have problems because they use drugs and everything else. That's not the question. Whether or not we have a problem with their behavior, morally or whatever, is irrelevant. The only thing that matters, the reason why this is important, is because a man was accused of being abusive and violent, and there is no evidence adding up to that. And in fact, the evidence is to the contrary, which is what we should be taking away from this. And anyone who tries to throw these dismissive blanket statements are simply saying, I don't want to acknowledge the fact that women can be violent and abusive to men. I don't want to see it. So instead, I'm just going to pretend like, both sides. And I'm sorry, but both sides as an argument is getting weaker and weaker by the day for everything. I don't want to hear about both sides. I want you to tell me what's happening in this particular instance right now. And that's what this is about. So, Depp's the one with the injuries. He's the one with the physical evidence and the recordings of Amber Heard saying that she, hit him. And Heard has nothing but like crocodile tears and like, overblown descriptions of shit in a desperate attempt, I might add, to make it appear as though both parties are violent. And there's just no evidence for that. So let's stop acting like, we're going to like make these strange assertions and not actually like understand why people, especially men, are paying attention to how this is going to pan out, because they either know someone that's going through it, that's a man, that feels like he can't fight back, he can't defend himself, because if he does, he's going to jail, or they are that person. So like, that's all it is. This is about the law. This is not about, oh, well, I guess it's okay to, do tons of cocaine and hang out with Marilyn Manson. Nobody's saying that. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to hang out with Marilyn Manson. You know him, but
there's a dark horse in all of this, which is the women who have experienced domestic violence by men who see their abuser in Amber Heard, which is 100% proof that abuse is not gendered. It is an action, not a gender.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something you do.
Advocating for them in supporting Amber Heard. They are also being silenced. And I just want to point out that I have noticed that as it becomes much, much more clear that Amber Heard is the instigator, people are getting more into this both sides. It's like there is no, like you were saying, there's no both sides here. There's where the evidence takes you. And that would be the case whether or not it was a false accusation by a woman or a false accusation by a man. We should be focusing on what the evidence says and what the evidence can prove. Because, ironically, a system that's based on bias, even if it's bias for women, for some reason, even male psychopaths and sociopaths can manipulate that system as long as it's based on haze artistry or bias or something other than facts and reality. And I've seen this, like they can manipulate that system to their own benefit. But if we had a system that was based on facts and logic, neither male sociopaths or female sociopaths or female borderline or whatever else, or even just extremely damaged women, wouldn't be able to use this system to abuse people. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, and this is really what I want to get out. They talk about both sides, but when we talk, like, this isn't Team Amber, Team Depp. This is team evidence, and it should have always been team evidence. And the difference between us as men's rights activists, is that, if the evidence points to a man being innocent, then we say, looks like the evidence points to him being innocent. If the evidence points to him being guilty, we say that. And we say the same thing with women.
Yep.
I mean, and you could say that we are both sides because we side with the evidence, which could be on the woman's side or the man's side. It's just that we don't automatically side with women, which is the real sticking point. Or we don't automatically side with the person who's best able to manipulate a biased system. Okay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. So I got another super chat from Iggy Thunders for $5. And he says, survival tip, always feed a hungry badger. Thank you, Iggy, for the super chat. All right. So, where was I? This is an ugly case. Oh, yeah, from both parties, blah, blah, blah. It took just over a year for the relationship to fracture from a constant conflict. Depp claims Heard was a violent, possessive instigator who got him blacklisted from Hollywood when she wrote a Washington Post op-ed in 2018 detailing her accusations. Heard, meanwhile, claims that she feared for her life because of Depp's alleged behavior, especially while the star was drunk and high. So again, let's look at what the claim is. He's trying to say, the both sides thing. This is like the current pivot that like a lot of feminists and even some conservatives are moving to, because they have realized that they can't simply ignore the evidence against Heard. So they have to like try to figure out, they're looking for a middle ground, and it's artificial, right? So Depp claims Heard was a violent, okay, we know she was violent because she admitted it and we have evidence. So that's not untrue. Possessive instigator, not sure about that. I mean, she did like pressure him a lot, but I don't know if that's necessarily like, well, again, I don't know how strong that is, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because she was violent. Who got him blacklisted from Hollywood when she wrote a Washington Post op-ed in 2018 detailing her accusations. That did hurt his career. Her op-ed ruined him, okay? He was kicked off of the Pirates franchise. He was kicked off of the Fantastic Beasts franchise. And I'm fairly certain he lost other work as well. Okay. And he has kids to support and everything. So her op-ed hurt his career and it boosted hers. She ended we don't know her from much, but she was in Aquaman. I think that was a pretty big movie. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but so it didn't hurt her. And she became like the face of Me Too, which, was probably good for her in terms of raising her profile. So that's also true. Now, what are the claims that she made? Oh, she feared for her life. Well, I don't know what that means. What did he do? He didn't do, there's nothing that he did. She's saying, oh, when he was drunk and high, he was like, she was scared of him. That's all we got. Like, we don't know anything. We don't have any evidence. And they're trying to equivocate these things. They're trying to equivocate Heard's claims about her emotional state against actual violence done against Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And they're trying to say it's basically the same.
It's essentially her emotional state. So and who knows what she means by claims she feared for her life. She thinks she's going to commit suicide if he leaves. It's like, yeah, exactly. They're trying to equate her emotional state to the physical destruction that she engaged in towards him.
Yep.
Have we gotten to the second paragraph there?
I'm getting to it. It's the next one. So,
right. Yes.
But for large swaths of the manosphere, the Depp trial isn't merely a fascinating look into the complicated nature of domestic violence and volatile relationships. I like how it's very complicated. It's boiling over with nuance, guys. It's boiling over.
That's not the thing that I picked out. Fascinating.
Yeah, a fascinating look. Like they're in a fishbowl.
Yeah, like people who experience domestic violence are fascinating to you, are they? Like, what's this guy's name again? That really speaks to this individual's compassion. I like people who are experiencing domestic violence. It's interesting to watch them. It's fascinating. They're very entertaining. Domestic violence is quite the entertaining subject to this MEL Magazine writer. So do you just pull up a lawn chair and watch him beat his wife, and you're just like, fascinating.
Yeah,
this is good Sunday entertainment. Or do the same with a woman beating her husband. Like, the fact that they would frame it this way is it's a really interesting window into their mentality, and their mentality on the entire subject of people being victims of social ills and issues and problems like domestic violence. They would see that as fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like some of the stuff that I'm seeing from this trial is almost impossible to watch. It's not fascinating. I look at it because I want to understand what is going on, and I want to understand the situation. I want to understand the evidence to form an opinion on who is correct and who isn't. But it sure as hell isn't fascinating. It is sad. It is upsetting. And I think that's really shows the difference, because to these individuals who write for places like MEL Magazine, social problems like domestic violence are sources of entertainment or political clout. They are not human tragedies.
Yeah.
And look at that.
It's like this guy is looking into the fishbowl that is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, and you're looking into the fishbowl of this guy's mind, who is looking into their fishbowl. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like two, never mind. Okay, so back to the article. I guess Alison muted herself. I don't know why. Where was I? Oh yeah, so the Depp trial isn't just a fascinating look into the complicated nature of domestic violence and volatile relationships. Instead, many observers who are obsessed with the loss of men's rights. Did you know that we were obsessed because we talk about it?
What obsessed the loss of men's rights? You mean at one point there were some areas of the country, I'm talking about US, that had gender neutral domestic violence laws, and then the feminist nation attacked? Is that what you're talking about in terms of the loss of men's rights? I guess. The honest to God truth is men never really had a consistent respect for when they are victims of their wives' violence. Like, there's never been a consistent consideration for male victims of domestic violence. So how could they lose the right to be helped and respect, like have their right not to be violently aggressed against by their wives respected when it never existed? And we're not losing anything. I mean, briefly in the 80s, there were like as I said, they were gender neutral in some areas, gender neutral domestic violence laws, but it was never really consistent. So
yeah,
I think we're advocating for new rights.
Yep.
And the recognition of new rights for men in terms of being recognized as domestic violence victims on par with women. And that's where the rubber meets the road, because even if feminists will say, well, men can be victims of domestic violence, although it's inconvenient to our narrative, and we continuously engage in sophistry to pretend that they aren't the same number or even more. They're just not as important victims of domestic violence as women. They just don't really support our narratives about society. Therefore, they're not as important. And it's like, we call that out, but anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And also, are feminists not obsessed with women's rights or what they perceive to be women's rights? It's really more like women and female entitlements. I mean, do they not go on and on and on about it? Do they not have like endless websites that write about how women have it worse in every single conceivable paradigm? I mean, I think that the notion that they're obsessed is intended to be, sort of negatively framed, like, oh, these guys are weird. They're always talking about men's rights. But like, feminists don't shut up about women. So like, this is just the iron law of woke projection. It's just that.
Well, but the other thing.
Yeah.
What's intriguing is that the trans community is coming up on this this fact that feminists, like basically the central core of feminism, wants people who have uteruses to have certain rights. Period. And anyway, I just found that.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
I mean, because think about it. What if Depp was a trans woman?
Well, I don't know. He might be. I mean, I'm not a biologist, Alison. I can't tell you.
You're right. Actually, he could be a trans woman who uses masculine pronouns because
and a masculine presenting trans woman. I mean,
yes.
I'm not going to presume anything. I mean, I'm not a bigot. That's all. If that's okay with you guys, I'm I'm not gonna
No,
go
I'm at
around
the point where,
labeling people male or female. Like that's just
no offense, but I'm at the point now where our society is so absurd that
yeah.
the fact is that I'm looking at all of this as sort of like a thought experiment. Okay, so how are they going to deal with reserving rights for cis women, those are women with uteruses,
Mm-hmm.
and excluding trans women from those rights? Now, how are they gonna square that circle? Because what they really want to do
And trans
is
men.
and trans men, what they really want to do is exclude the penis people from things.
Yeah.
And the trans women are pushing up against that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really just sort of slowly disemboweling the whole thing. And I'm just sitting
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
there, like, just
I mean, the T in the LGBT is going to consume everything else, and I'm here for it because I think it's going to be fucking hilarious to watch because I got no skin in that game at all. Like I just think it's funny. Go for it, trans people. Be heard, but just beware that the non-binaries are going to come for you because you're transphobic. So
or non-binary,
have fun with that.
Spectrum-phobic.
The non-binaries are gender abolitionists, so they will eventually turn on trans people just the same because trans people operate within a binary. So that's not okay. So, and I'm just like, go to town, guys. And feminists, they're eventually they're all going to be TERFs because that's the only way that can land, right? So, and you know what? You made your bed, you shit in it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And like I said, I don't like. It's not just no skin in the game. I'm like, honestly, I don't see why a trans woman shouldn't be considered a full woman. Like, why not? We've opened the door, and let's see how this plays out. It's a bold strategy. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
okay.
So men's rights activists, we're obsessed with the loss of men's rights and blame feminism for worsening their lives. These observers are portraying Depp's fight as an existential moment for men as a whole. It is. I mean, it shatters the narrative. In their eyes, Depp isn't merely a target of assumptions and false narratives. He is the vanguard in the war against women who hate men and pretend to be victims. Are those women we're supposed to support normally? Women who hate men and pretend to be victims?
Yeah. Wait a second. So they're in the war against the assholes. How dare they be in a war against the assholes? How dare they be in a war against the people who ruin it for everyone? Like, what are you trying to say here? No, do they like us? Like, are they like in our camp?
Yeah, is this like some 4D chess thing?
All the Karens, the men's rights activists, they're in a war against the Karens. Okay, so that's supposed to be a I don't mean the Karen. I mean, the Karens. Is that supposed to be a condemnation of us? Like,
yeah.
The men's rights activists are in a war against the orcs. Like, all right. Okay, well, thank you. We try. We try to call out people who are bad.
Yep.
Okay, moving on.
It's strange. It's strange, yeah. In that way, Depp is being weaponized by the manosphere, most notably by men's rights activists, in order to paint a picture of how American society chooses to believe women even when they're liars. Well, I don't know see that another thing. I don't know that society chooses that, but I do know that feminists push that.
Yes. They believe all women no matter what. So
yeah. Listen
just
to
so
women.
Happened that your Me Too net caught a woman who looks very much like a liar.
Yeah.
And doesn't have evidence on her side. You push to believe all women, and what a surprise. A sociopath, possibly a pathological liar and sociopath got believed. And you put your might behind that, and now you are paying the consequences of your actions. Like, that's simply what this is. Me Too made Amber Heard a star of itself, And now her message is completely unraveling. And people are noticing that she looks like a pathological liar. And she doesn't have evidence on her side. And it's entirely possible that Me Too railroaded a completely innocent man. I mean, there's always a bit of doubt in all things, but and that is the consequences of what you did. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think that move was going to eventually play? It was eventually going to. It was a move that would only win. Let us believe all women, no matter what, and it'll work out for us. We'll never actually end up with egg on our face because we believed a woman who's using our gormless naivete or our ignorance or our stupidity to push her own very negative agenda. Like, it's just consequences of your actions, Me Tooers.
Yep.
And the chickens have come home to roost, so to speak. Or the pigeons have homed the royal home. The Amber Herds have shit in the pigeon coop.
And all we're doing, we're not making Amber Heard out to be anything. All we're doing is showing, like, we're not even showing it. We do show it, but like everyone could see it. It's like the memes and video clips and shit of the trial that are going around. I didn't make those. No. I don't know. I don't think MRAs made those. I think it was people who were interested,
Yeah. Men's rights activists haven't been doing a heck of a lot on this trial because we have to deal with issues and other things that like we're dealing with the average man who doesn't have Johnny Depp's resources. And we're trying to bring attention to how he's affected by this situation. So there hasn't been a lot of men's rights content on this.
I think that we've probably done more discussion of this than most, although Paul Elam did a thing on it and an interview, and John Davis did a thing on it. And I think there was like Tara Palmatier, who's not really an MRA, but, she also did some, she wrote some things about it. But most of the content that's circulating the interwebs, the tubes, is not from MRAs. It's from people who are just interested in pop culture. They are Johnny Depp fans or, whatever. And they're getting sucked into this whole thing. And they're reporting on it, like guys like That Umbrella Guy, guys like Nick Rikita, guys like what's another guy that talks about this a lot? The Nerdette's Newsstand, despite my disagreements with her, she's been covering this extensively. Yellow Flash has been covering it. A lot of other YouTubers that don't normally make content about men's issues at all are the ones that are the most invested or the most productive in this. And it's because they're probably seeing something novel, but we know that it's not novel. We know that this happens all the time. It's just that nobody wants to talk about it because it disrupts the narrative. So
his trial. Okay, I'll take the rest of this paragraph if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
His trial fits neatly into a tapestry of claims that men are under attack, woven alongside clumsy narratives about false rape accusations and mothers lying to block children from their fathers. Yes, all of that
happens. Yeah, all of that totally happens. God damn it.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Who are you covering for? Like, why are you denying these things? What's the benefit?
He's not even denying these things. Because look at how he defines them. He defines them as clumsy narratives.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a clumsy fact. It's not a narrative. Because they're always going to use narratives because everything is narratives to them. But clumsy narrative, not a false narrative, a clumsy narrative. Yeah, well, yeah. Advocating for men is clumsy. It's difficult. It's an uphill battle. It's awkward. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. You got to be willing to take it on the chin constantly. It's a difficult fight. It's like Rocky trying to go the distance. He's like, I'm not going to win, but I'm going to go to the distance. That's men's rights activism right there. It is clumsy, but that doesn't make it wrong, is what I'm getting at. And the fact that he's talking about it in terms of its elegance or if its efficiency instead of its truth is, again, really telling. Like, the first thing that was telling was, oh, domestic violence, how fascinating. Oh, I like to have some caviar on my crackers as I watch men beating their wives. And it's so fascinating. It's so lovely after dinner entertainment, that kind of thing. And now, oh, it's a clumsy narrative. I can't. What can I do with this narrative? Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't lie to people with it. I can't use it to extort money. What is this? The truth? So clumsy. And that's the attitude they have. It's all about the efficiency of a narrative to get what they want, and
Yep.
a lack of compassion for what people are actually going through.
Yep.
And also bizarrely calling us out for being like, the men's rights activists are up against bad people. How dare? What?
Yeah, weird. Just okay.
The whole thing is weird. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No wonder there's an energized web of right-wing YouTubers. Oh, goddamn. Couldn't you just keep with calling us men's rights activists? Influencers and social media posters who are following the trial live. Wait, you mean all the people? No, those people aren't right-wing and they're not men's rights activists.
Well, of course not. They don't, but that's not, see, they're using the word right wing or the term because they're trying to get a negative emotional response to people that they're claiming are right wing. I don't think they don't use men's rights activists as much because, first of all, it's one of those phrases that if somebody sees men's rights activist, some people might scoff at the very notion of that, which is why I think feminists were the ones that used that label on us to begin with, because they thought, oh, this is so ludicrous. We're just going to call them men's rights activists and everyone's going to be like, whatever, guys. But it didn't work out that way, right? There were people who were like, well, I mean, if they're advocating for men's rights, that sounds fine. Like, I remember, when I went to ICMI in England or in the UK, I think it was in 2016 or 2018. I don't remember which one. And there was a old woman that was like in the customs of the airport. And she asked me why I was there. And I told her I was there for a men's rights conference. And she was like, what rights do men not have that women have? And I told her a couple. And she was like, oh, okay. And then, it was all fine, right? At first she was a little combative, but then I told her, well, these things, circumcision, the draft, child custody, domestic violence, right. Sexual assault, and she was like, yeah, okay. And accepted it.
That actually, one of the ICMIs I went to, I actually talked to, it was a bunch of older British people at the pub that we went to after. It's the International Conference for Men's Issue. People don't know it. And the women were like, wow, yeah, that seems to be something that should be dealt with because men are falling behind in these issues.
Yeah.
The men themselves sort of laughed it off, but the women were like, yeah, that is actually important. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think the label of MRA used to be something that you could just use to dismiss people, but I don't think it's working anymore. So now they're just pivoting to just like right wing, which of course there's the way that they use it. It has no real definition. It just means people who don't agree with me. And the point of it is to make people dismiss that. And that's it. So that's why they're calling them right wing YouTubers, influencers and social media posters. Because they don't have anything else. I mean, like Nazi has worn out its welcome. It doesn't have the same punch that it used to. No pun intended.
Internationally. Okay, I better not say anymore. I might get the channel demonetized. But when the international, situation becomes nuanced, shall we say, Nazi loses its bite.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. And again, this is all about, this article is all about trying to change the minds of men who might read it. So and of course, they're coming at this from a progressive perspective, which means that they presume that their positions are automatically 100% correct. So they're just going to use a language they think is going to essentially solidify the opinions of those who might read it. in the way that they want. And so they'll just say right wing because that's got, you know, a massive amount of stigma that's been attached to it. It's got the cooters, it's got the stinky poo, and but it used to be
people disagree. People disagree with me.
People who disagree. But like it's the same as incel. They do the same thing. They use the word incel to describe, you know, men who disagree with feminists or anyone who disagrees with feminists. Yeah. And what is the point? Well, so that people have like an automatic negative knee-jerk response to the word incel. And so they respond to that. It's the same. It means nothing. It's just a tool of emotional manipulation. It doesn't mean anything.
So no wonder there's an energized web of right wing. I think they're just normies. You just think that they're right wing because they disagree with you. Influencers, and and it's funny how this really is the linchpin to all of it. Like the wokists, they like the necessity of believing women above all else is like the linchpin of all of this.
Yeah.
Like it's the central pillar of every goddamn bit of this.
Yeah, unless they're not politically women, in which case they
unless they're not politically women.
Like you.
Like I'm a man because of my politics and caring about.
You're basically politically male. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels okay.
It's funny. I'm sure you feel your conscience is clear and everything, but it is really funny because what that really means is they're saying a woman to us fits into this box, and this is what they have to be, and if they stray from this box, they are not women. And the women in that box are happy to be in there. Like, well, I guess I'm a woman, and it's just like, you are the worst people.
All right. Influencers on social media posters who are following the trial live, leveraging the drama clout, while proselytizing on the injustice of mass misandry in the post-Me Too age. Okay, where's the lie? You're just saying this like, okay, do you have any argument against that? Oh, no, you don't. You just don't. It's perfect for anyone who creates content around conservative talking points like Hollywood elitism, cancel culture, or the harms of feminism and wokeness. All right. Conservatives aren't really overly concerned about male victims either.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean they maintained things for as long as they were being maintained. When the Duluth Model came into being, they weren't exactly fighting against it.
No, in fact, they were in many cases championing it. Yeah. And I would also like to point out that shared parental custody is more common in Democrat states. So, there is a certain vanguard of conservatism that is very much like mom is the central pillar of everything and deserves all things, and dad can just go hang. This is not just, that's the irony, is that we're not just dealing with misandry from feminists. We are dealing with the fact that feminism is like the rebranded conservative misandry.
Yeah.
That includes, and that doesn't mean like for a lot of, because right wing and conservative is now basically everything that doesn't agree with the wokists. Well, there's a lot of people in that category who are more sympathetic to what we talk about. And there's a lot of conservatives who are starting to realize that, actually maybe demoralizing your productive class is not the best way forward into a future that's worth having. And so they're getting a little bit more listen to us, although the both sidesism is still strong with them.
Absolutely.
That includes content creators, or even this idea that men can somehow do the role of men in society and also do the role of women. This is something I've seen conservatives, like men can both do what society needs to have done and also motivate themselves and reward themselves and be like psychological units onto themselves. And it's like, men can't do women's role. Sorry. And that's a bit of a hard sell for them to understand. Hollywood elitism.
Well, I think that conservatism has lost its way because it has forgotten that, even if I look at it in the most like sort of fundamental way, where it's like we are here to work, and this is what makes humans different from animals. And men, they're expected to provide, but they have forgotten that women are supposed to work too, and that women have like a part to play in that. So they don't even have the true, I guess what you might say, if they're operating from a position of like tradition and order, they're not even like using the model of like a married couple or family unit, which includes the women's responsibility and the women's work in that at all. And that's how you get into this whole this 1950s. And I don't like to say that because I don't think the 1950s were the 1950s as most people think of it. But this idea of the idyllic housewife that, has all of these conveniences in her home, and as a result of that is bored and becomes a decorative part of the home, while the man, still works his ass off and like comes home hoping that there'll be dinner on the table and not a fight. And and the thing about that is that is what happened, but it's women's fault. Like women, absolutely. Yeah, that because before all of the modern conveniences, men went and worked all day. Women worked all day. Like everyone worked all day. The children worked all day. Or at least for a large chunk of it. And everyone was contributing to the wider community in their own way, and they were all participants. And then men started making things easier and easier for women, which made their day shorter and shorter in terms of like what was actually expected of them. But then they responded with, well, I'm bored. I guess I'm just gonna like do my nails, do my hair, get some outfits, and all of that. And then they became a decorative side piece instead of actually saying, well, I have all this free time, I should fill it with things that matter, right? So I think that like by and large the conservatism of today has mostly forgotten that, and they're still operating on a broken version of what they think things used to be. And that's the reason why they're essentially like just a few steps behind progressives. So, it's that's the reason. I don't know if you guys are understanding that, but
yeah, the conservatives basically gave women a break from their roles.
Yeah.
And also ultimately that is sort of almost a conservative position based on our instincts. We want to provide women as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so they basically said, yeah, you can stop carrying the half of the sky that women carry. And then everything went to shit. And then they're like, well, men, you gotta carry both sides.
Yeah, and then women were like, well, I don't want to do anything else. And they call that freedom. So, but anyway, that's we're getting really, off topic. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect for anyone who creates content around conservative talking points like Hollywood elitism, cancel culture, or the harms of feminism and wokeism.
None of that's conservative.
Not
exclusively.
No, and also you can criticize all of that from, well, let's be honest. People like MEL Magazine, they're not like the word progress. They aren't any derivative of the word progress. They aren't any derivative of the word nuanced or new or vanguard, avant-garde, or on the edge of human understanding, or having a comprehensive understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
They're none of that. They are still stuck, and which is really ironic because they talk about being post-gender. They are still stuck, and they're actually going backwards when it comes to understanding how sexuality interacts between men and women, and how our instincts, our reproductive instincts, what they are and what they do. And they have nothing new to say about it. We have always had an instinct to provide and protect for women, because women are the existential future of every single human group on the planet. So women come first when it comes to providing and protecting. MEL is just doing that. They're just operating off of the same instincts of a Cro-Magnon. And they're looking around with their heavy brow and their club, and they're pretending, they're I don't know, I guess they got their pinky up and they're like, Meet me progressive. Yeah, bullshit. You guys are all back in the Stone Age, and you're going back in the Stone Age because you refuse to actually acknowledge the reality of human instinct and human the way that our reproductive and sexual instincts are.
Yeah.
You are completely beholden to them in the most profound way. And you call any criticism of being totally beholden to archaic biology conservatism, which is fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going into a weird.
Anyway, the purpose of all that is to simply discredit. Like, so if anybody says I'm not a fan of cancel culture, they'll go, "Oh, that's a conservative talking point," and that automatically makes it, not happening. Oh, well, I guess cancel culture is not happening then. I mean, it's one of those conservative talking points, so I guess it's not real, Even though literally we're looking at a case where Amber Heard canceled Johnny Depp and he lost a bunch of work, but that's not really happening. Conservative talking point, everybody. Conservative talking point.
The idea of women controlling the mental landscape and making it aesthetically pleasant to them.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it was Impressionism. There were women who went and saw Impressionist shows and they just fainted or they vomited because it was just so horrifying. The art.
You mean like the paintings, like Van Gogh and shit?
How is this new? Like we wouldn't have Impressionism if we had cancel culture back then.
It's
God
true.
forbid, like we present cubism to women. Like that's the thing.
It's just their little lady brains just weren't ready, Alison. That's all. It's just...
Yeah, I know. It just wasn't a situation where you just say, "Hey, Karen, it's a painting. It's a new style. Relax. The world isn't going to open up and swallow you, and you're not going to go down to hell." I mean, it's the same attitude. It's this idea that human expression has to proceed at the rate at which it doesn't offend the most offendable women on the planet. Yep. That's what cancel culture is.
And now we have feminist art, which is basically just really bad paintings and sculptures of vaginas. That's like all of it. And menstrual blood.
This includes... Okay, I'm going to move on because I'm probably confusing a lot of people. Maybe not. That includes content creator Nick Rikita, who is streaming the trial to his nearly 350,000 subscribers on YouTube while providing live commentary and insights on Twitter. Woo! Wow, Nick Rikita has really done well for himself.
Yeah, Rikita Law. He does. He basically just puts on the trial. He's a lawyer, so I think that's one of the reasons why people watch him. And he just puts the trial on and comments throughout. And because he's got a background in law, I think people just want to hear his takes.
Yeah, he wanted to talk about my trial, but I don't know. There was a while there I just couldn't handle any of it.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to get him on the show and talk to him about this in the broader meta context. Obviously, the context that MEL Magazine has no interest in talking about. Even people who just think, well, Johnny Depp's a piece of shit. It's like, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's no one on here is into this because of the the whole Hollywood dishing on these celebrities. That's not the point. The point is, it's a high-profile case because they're famous, which people are watching, and there is a takeaway that is absolutely critical. Mm-hmm. That absolutely critical when it comes to male victims of domestic abuse and the ways that women can destroy them despite the fact that they didn't do anything wrong, or at least not anything that be considered abuse.
Really? Okay. All right. So this tweet is interesting. The Umbrella Guy. So Tuesday, April 12th, when Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard kicks off, jury selection is the 11th. I'll join forces and stream with Rikita Law. He's someone I fully endorse as knowing the stakes of a trial like this on victims and men's rights and beyond. So that's where they're getting the men's rights.
Yeah, but that Umbrella Guy, not an MRA, I probably wouldn't identify with it, but he is doing the MRA thing. He is doing it. He's doing the action. And I think that's why they hate him, because he and like Nick Rahita, they're reaching a lot of people, and
Yeah,
I think they get it. So
we need to step it up if we're going to get through all of this. God damn.
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys
sorry.
Are not succinct. You guys are not succinct at MEL.
No.
Do you have
well,
no concept of an editor?
Well, it's basically just like a lefty meme. Like you need to like write out several paragraphs in an essay to explain your meme because it requires a tremendous amount of sophistry. Like first, let's talk about the colonization of the West. And and they got to start from that, right? In order for us to understand the complete and total context as to why women have it worse, and in particular why Johnny Depp is just as bad as Amber Heard. Like we have to go back to the beginning of time when the first man called the first woman a bitch.
Yeah, but the beginning of time when men somehow evolved.
Yeah.
And a male social mammal and not actually exist pretty much to provide and protect for the female. Yeah, yeah, that beginning of time. All right, so this next paragraph is just there's not much to respond to, but I'll go through it. He's joined by such like-minded thinkers as that umbrella guy. Account for perspective highlights a video of how Jordan Peterson wrecks Marvel with his intellectual might. And Yellow Flash, who recently posted commentary on how the Depp trial will destroy the Hollywood agenda. Umbrella, for one, has been making repeated claims that Heard and her simps targeted their content with takedown notices, championing how he and other men's rights allies are willing to be unbiased in the face of social pressure. Okay? All right, so where's the argument? Where's the...
Yeah.
Where's the meat?
What's wrong with that?
This narrative of speaking truth to power by blaming Heard, cancel culture, and feminism is upheld by their fans, including the live chat for the trial. Okay, you can't get around it. Feminism constructed the institution that's now assisting Heard in lying. Like they constructed the DV system. And there are professional liars who assist women in developing allegations for the sole purpose of getting sole custody. Okay? Like you can't get around that. Like people have experienced that. And also there is all kinds of paper trail on how feminism distorted the situation when it comes to domestic violence, starting with trying to hide symmetry in domestic violence, which you can look at I think it's Don Dutton's, Murray Strauss's processes concealing symmetry in domestic violence, to actively encouraging the police system to discriminate against male victims of domestic violence, to the point where if you look at the help-seeking experiences of battered men by Denise Hines, I think it's Denise, men are twice as likely to be arrested as the woman that they are calling the police on as an abuser. And the reason why is because, well, a while back, feminists said, well, police need to make an arrest for every domestic violence case. And then suddenly, the number of women who were arrested for domestic violence skyrocketed. And it started to go well past parity. Like women were the majority in some cases of people being arrested for domestic violence. So feminism were like, no, this is not right. And they went back and they started this thing called the primary aggressor laws, and also quotas in domestic violence arrests. So if the police department ever arrested more than 15% of domestic violence aggressors were women, that department would be investigated for bias against women. In that way, feminists completely distorted the arrest statistics and made getting justice or getting out of a violent and dangerous system for male victims an absolute minefield. This is their responsibility. There's no way to get around it. Mouthpieces like MEL can try to create a haze and pretend that we say this thing just because, I don't know, we hate women. No, it's because this is what feminists did.
Yep.
This is what they set out to do and what they did. And there's no way to get around that. I mean, what are we supposed to say? Well, we can't criticize feminism. We can't tell the world that this is what feminists have been doing. Well, no. Yes, we can. I mean, it may mean that our channel is tiny and people, because people are interested in the Johnny Depp trial because it's Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. It's big, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of salacious gossip and all that, but that's not the important thing for us.
They're less interested in the overarching narrative. It's good to see that, you know, the Umbrella guy and Rakita Law are actually interested in the overarching narrative.
Yes.
Because that needs to get out. But for the most part, people aren't interested in that because it requires changing a lot of their worldview. People don't like doing that. It's a very difficult thing for people to do. To really grasp the scope of this is difficult. And to even grasp the fact that all of this makes sense when you understand a society judges itself by how well it protects its women. So feminists are always flowing with the current. They're always assisted by the current of society. Because as soon as they say, well, women are victims of this, society's like, oh, we got to stop it. Society will deconstruct itself in order to prevent women being victims. And that's just feminism.
Or to prevent women from being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just like to protect them from discomfort.
Yeah, it will deconstruct itself. And that's what feminists are pursuing. And it goes right in line with our instincts. What is the likelihood that feminists invented men caring about women in the 1950s or 60s, 70s? Or that feminism is simply exploiting the fact that men have care about women now, and have always cared about to get what it wants done. What's the likelihood here, guys? Think about it. Okay, I'm gonna find where I left off.
I could read the next section.
Sure.
So, the narrative of speaking truth to power by blaming Heard, cancel culture, and feminism is upheld by their fans, including in the live chat for the trial. In one typical comment, a poster named Kiernoff observes that, quote, the kind of crap Johnny put up with from an abusive mother and an abusive ex-wife was set up because of the disproportional focus on female suffering. They added, look up men's rights movements. Ooh, somebody was passing out red pills in that chat. And then there's a link to a post by the Yellow Flash. Again, Yellow Flash talks about comic books, movies, and TV shows. He doesn't get involved with, men's rights stuff. And he said, the Johnny Depp trial is bigger than Depp. I don't care about his stupid Trump statement. What I care about is destroying the believe all women with no evidence narrative. That matters. Men's rights matter. How do you... I mean, that's based as far as I'm concerned. You know, I know that people have said, like, Johnny Depp is, like he was anti-Trump or he's a feminist or whatever. I don't care about that because this isn't about camps. I defended Harvey Weinstein because I felt that he was being unfairly treated. I defended Bill Cosby because I felt that he was being unfairly treated. It doesn't matter what their beliefs are. That's not how this works. Something is either just or it's unjust. Period. Yeah. It doesn't matter what those people believe. And I've been consistent on that from day one. So other entities. Oh, did you want to add something to that?
No, go ahead. Let's get through it.
Other entities, including the UK-based fathers' rights groups Fathers for Justice. Is that the one? Is that Mike Buchanan's?
Yes, I believe so.
I think so too, but he's changed the name. I think he changed the name.
Something more neutral.
Yeah. Have latched onto the Depp trial in order to prove their point about the alleged systemic ignorance of male suffering in all kinds of venues, not just divorce court. Again, all of this is true. Where's the lie? Their newest campaign depicts a dead-eyed Heard standing for a mugshot holding an edited image of the words, "This is what a domestic abuser looks like. Break the silence, end the stigma," the tagline urges. And here's the image. Picture of Amber Heard.
Domestic abuse against her girlfriend, for goodness sake.
Yeah, she actually was arrested for that. So,
okay, this rhetoric has been building for years on mainstream sites like Reddit, but also incel and MRA hubs like forums poll.co and incels.is. What? I've never even heard of that.
Incels.is. I think it's like incels are constantly like getting their websites taken down, so they have to like continuously like reinvent themselves. Like, so, I think there was an incels.co, I think, or maybe I am thinking about the is, but
a persecution complex. Like, why don't they actually, I was thinking about this. There was somebody who was calling out an incel who says, yeah, this guy says that men's only worth is how desirable they are to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, dude, do you care about any incels? Like, do you give them any worth aside from that? It's like, incels put up a mirror and I don't like what I see. You're constantly attacking these people and you wonder where the persecution complex comes from. All right, one thread on Reddit in 2019 claims that the Johnny Depp case speaks for thousands and thousands of those who actually ended up in prison for having done nothing but be part of a sexist legal system controlled by feminists. A claim that doesn't hold water when you can see trends happening inside prison. What? Or that the fact that the criminal justice system is controlled by a disproportionate number of old white men. Yes, who have instincts to protect women.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who controls it. What matters is the consequence. Like the at the end of the day, who does it benefit? Okay, It's not. Old white men are not benefiting men. They are benefiting the people that they want to save, which is women. Trends happening inside prisons. Okay, let me look at this.
The trends link? Sure.
The gender divide, tracking state prison growth. So, okay, but so what if the number of women in prison is growing? Maybe women are becoming more violent. Yeah, maybe. Actually, what's happening is that people are starting to question the bias for female criminals, and they're actually putting them into jail at the same rate as male criminals. Similar, or moving more towards putting them at the same rate. Like, why does MEL present something that's becoming more equal as harm against women? We all know why. Because the instinct is to protect and provide for women. The instinct is always to protect and provide for women. So if something gets worse for women, but in the process of becoming equal to men, then that is a harm that's done women, and it's on inequality, astoundingly. Like, if you can wrap your head around that.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Another thread from the subreddit Men's Rights claims that media bias against men, many of whom lack the resources to fight back. Well, not always, but well,
I mean, I think it's true that there are, like we said, I think it's true that like what's going on with Depp it should be seen as exceptionally interesting because the average man who might experience the same thing won't have the money to, get a team of lawyers that are as good as those, and will likely just have to be
MEL Magazine.
Yeah.
If Amber had the evidence that Johnny has, what would you say?
Oh, we know what they would say.
I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. Don't even try to hide it. Everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Just shake it. Enjoy being an object of ridicule. Another thread from the sub. Okay. More tweets.
All right. So
no actual links to evidence or discussion of the social situation.
There is a paragraph here. In the broader picture, it's also true that domestic violence does impact men, who often will not report being assaulted due to personal shame and fear that people will belittle or discredit their experience because of their gender. So he's making the toxic masculinity argument. Well, men don't say anything because they'd be embarrassed. No.
Brian, we got the money shot. We got the money shot.
Okay, where's the money shot?
Well, the money shot is when they basically say, "Yeah, you're all right. Our opponents are actually completely correct. We're going to do the dance of confusion with the thin veils of
Allow me
hazers.
to express my beliefs about how right you are with interpretive dance. And by the time my dance is complete, you will be so confused you'll think that I was right and they were wrong the whole time.
Yeah. Have you noticed that? Like this is what I've noticed. People on the other side, if you watch carefully and listen to what they're saying, they will admit that, like, what was it, the Minority Report? He started out by agreeing, oh yeah, there's bias against men, but watch me as I engage in my veils, and even though I agree, true, at the end of the Dance of the Seven Veils, we'll all be so confused that we'll forget that, no, this is what they do. They agree right off the bat, or in the middle, they agree, and then they weave a tale of sophistry. So we all know it's true, but we are going to weave a tale of sophistry to replace reality with a manufactured bit of bullshit that we all agree is more comfortable to everyone. You know, so this is the paragraph. There is little doubt that Johnny Depp himself was victimized in his relationship and fights with her. He did encounter a wave of harsh public scrutiny after her claims in the Washington Post, even if she didn't name him in that piece, and he did disappear from Hollywood for some time in the aftermath, although it's nigh impossible to prove whether he was really blacklisted. Of course, it's almost impossible to prove. So, right here, I mean, well, okay, let's pack up this article. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for agreeing.
We win.
We win.
Thanks for conceding.
Nobody would notice? Like, they're just like they did. And what's really hilarious is it's just they're writing out facts like they're counter arguments. It's like, really? Okay. Men's rights activists don't like bad people.
They don't like the bad guys. Oh, we're almost at the end, Allison. I just realized we're really close. Let me read through the rest of this. But treating Depp's case as a smoking gun that modern society hates men isn't good for Nuance. Yeah, because you guys are overflowing with nuance. Or even rooted in objective consideration of gendered violence. Gendered violence, the way that they use it, simply means women are victims of men. Like, they don't even acknowledge that women beat women. They won't even acknowledge that lesbian relationships are the most violent relationships.
What is the thing? Like, they're making the word nuance do a lot of work here.
Yeah, it's carrying a lot of water. Yeah,
like it's carrying a hell of a lot of water. For sure, if it really, like, if you really examine it, it's really sufficient to the task. Mm-hmm. Because what they mean is reality completely contradicts what I'm saying. I've even acknowledged reality is this way. But let us apply nuance, and let's just agree that the lie about reality is more comfortable for all of us. Because so nuance, as they're using it, basically means, reality is that way. We all agree that this is reality. We all agree that, but we prefer the lie. So let's use the word nuance to explain how we should all agree with something that we acknowledge is a lie. Because we've already said that this is the truth, but we prefer the lie. And it's nuanced, to just ignore the truth and prefer the lie. That's what they're making the word nuanced mean. And I'm trying to wrap my mind about that.
Yep.
Nuance is not an understanding of complexity. Nuance is literally, reality is this way, but I don't like that, so I'm going to substitute a lie.
Yep.
You're rooted in objective consideration of gendered violence.
Absolutely.
Objective consideration of gendered violence. Well, no such thing. Abuse is not gendered. It's a behavior. It's not. And even women who have experienced abuse by men are recognizing their abuser and Amber Heard, because abuse isn't gendered. It's behavior.
Mm-hmm. It's just behavior. Okay. It's just the next overture in a performative show projection about male suffering. And the manosphere has proven incredibly adept at using these overtures to build up a conspiratorial ideology about the world around us.
What the heck is patriarchy theory?
Yeah, right. I know. Isn't it interesting? In that way, the Depp and Heard trial fits neatly alongside moral panics about fathers' rights or bizarre fights about ladies' night promotions. Not really like at the top of anybody's list, but okay. All of which is used to argue that society is irreversibly biased. It is the siren song compelling a vanguard of obsessive men to fight on the front lines, rebuking every privilege they have as men and blaming everyone else for being brainwashed. So he believes in the male privilege narrative, obviously.
Actually, what really he's really revealing his ass here. He's worried about being wrong and being embarrassed.
Yeah.
Bizarre fight it's the siren song compelling a vanguard. Everyone else for being brainwashed. Well, okay, but how did this individual go from, oh yeah, Johnny Depp was a victim and he faced backlash to, oh, by the way, recognizing that when men are victims, they face backlash is a conspiracy theory, and it doesn't reflect actual bias. It's like you don't need a conspiracy theory to recognize that human beings prefer to provide and protect for women, period. Like there's no conspiracy in this. When you look at the statistics, that's the case. You do experiments where you ask people, would you rather kill a man or a woman? It's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather a man starve? It's a man. Would you rather punch a man in the face? It's a man. You know, like in every case, they would rather visit something negative on a man and try to protect and provide the woman. It's just a social attitude, period.
Yep.
And it's just consistent with evolutionary necessity. Like if you need to provide and protect your women in order to have a future as a culture, as a civilization, as a race, as a tribe. Like there's nothing, there's no way to argue it. It's ridiculous. And in fact, the only reason why this because he doesn't want to examine it in himself.
Yep.
It's like
well, of course not. That would be really hard. These people probably doing these interpretive dance moves to each other so they can like avoid the cognitive dissonance.
Well, the embarrassment of actually questioning something deep about themselves.
Yeah, so for sure.
Okay, so this is the guy who just said, there's no doubt that Johnny himself was victimized and that he faced a wave of harsh public scrutiny, even though there's no doubt that he was victimized. And then he goes on to say, rebuking every privilege they have as men. Well, where's the privilege? Where's Johnny's privilege? Like, once again, you know, you go into this is really what it is. He acknowledges reality for what it is. But now we are going to engage in dance confusion, the dance of the seven veils, try to pretend that reality isn't.
Yep.
And assert things that then directly contradict the thing that you just asserted as reality. And try to square that circle by saying, oh, it's nuance. Is nuance your word for lie?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like, if there's a truth, we have it, we control it, and we decide how to disseminate it, and no one else is allowed to have the same truth. So when we say something that's true, they say, well, I mean, it's true that what you're saying, but you guys have like ill intentions, and we have the real, like, you know, truth about your truth that we are now claiming is our truth. That's why they'll say they'll say MRAs are correct to point out that men can be the victims of domestic violence because it's obvious that they can. And we even have data on our side that says that women, in most cases, both parties are abusive, but even in those cases, women are more likely, 70%, to initiate domestic violence situations. But in this specific case, it appears to be completely lopsided. Johnny Depp is avoiding confrontation, even if he becomes angry, even if he becomes self-destructive, even if he becomes, engrossed in his own addictions as a means to cope with living, which apparently is most of it. But like his drama-filled relationships are a part of that problem. But he is not, or at least that we haven't seen any evidence to show that he laid a finger on her. And I think the reason for that is because he must know on some instinctive level that if he did, even if it was in self-defense, even if she hurt herself hurting him, he would be on the hook for it. That is not debatable. That is the way it is. And the Duluth model, as it is constructed, is made specifically for that purpose. That cannot be refuted, period. Like, it just can't. So the
Duluth model is about shoehorning or trying to push domestic violence into the narrative. Man is the abuser, woman is the victim. There's no way to get around it. And feminists pushed that. If feminism didn't exist, the Duluth model wouldn't exist. And it certainly wouldn't have the political cachet it does.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the sentence. Okay. It is the same philosophy that leads young people to believe positive revolutionary force in the face of Stacys and Chads, corrupting the natural balance of things. What the hell are you even on?
So he's basically lumping in the incels with the MRAs. That's all it is. He's basically saying this is the language that incels use. I'm going to say that incels and MRAs are the same, and I'm going to make it seem ludicrous like what incels believe about Stacys and Chads or whatever. And I'm pretty certain that he's misrepresenting the incel position on this anyway, because they don't really understand incels. They believe that it's a recent phenomenon and hasn't been a thing since the beginning of fucking time. And, they believe that it's political, which it is not. They believe all kinds of crazy things about it because they don't really care to actually look into it or speak to actual incels. And what they don't know is that by their own logic, by shitting on incels, by their logic, not mine, they are being ableist and racist because a lot of incels are minorities. Black men is a big part of that community, and many incels have disabilities, whether they are psychological or they are physical, which is why, by the way, they are alone, because women can't be made to have preferences, so.
Yeah, well, they can't, they're just undesirable
to women.
And society condemns them for that. And also a lot of them have histories of sexual abuse. But yeah, and more society is heaping condemnation on them for the fact that they're undesirable to women. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
And then also lumping in the behavior of people, men who have serious mental illnesses with all incel. Amid this tapestry, the anger and joy swallowing the defense of Depp is predictable and volatile.
Mm-hmm.
The anger and joy. Some aggrieved men just need something righteous to believe in, and they've chosen the actor's trial as the fork in the road for the future. What does it even mean? You are sacrificing.
I guess what he's saying is that men do need something, but they shouldn't be getting it from MRAs. They should be getting it from feminists. That's what he's saying. So men be feminists. Just like every other MEL Magazine article, by the way, they all end the same. Be a feminist.
Well,
do it now, incel.
Yeah, also, basically they're just saying, men care about women.
Yeah.
Be a feminist. It's like, well, men always did.
Yeah. How about putting women first for a change, men? That's basically what he's saying. It's like, okay, well, that's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much that's the default position of morality. Okay, so don't have any super chows. Been quiet.
Oh, it's been quiet. I do have super chats, and we have a decent number of people watching. Okay. I'll read the super chats then. Dean Domino gave us 2 super chats, one for $4.99. I'm gonna give him a wog for that, and one for $9.99. The other one's a bit bigger, so. Okay, calm down, guys. All right. They read, problem with getting Nick on, so speaking about Nick Rakita, is that he is really bad at responding to people. Might be at least 6 months before he sees your message. Then he goes on to say, also, Rakita's interest isn't necessarily for men's rights. He is very sympathetic, but he has stated for him it's about overcoming the nigh impossible bar for defamation that the courts have upheld. Well, again, I don't need him to do or side with us. I don't care. If he cares about the law and he cares about truth and he cares about justice and fairness, in the justice system, that's plenty good enough for me. In fact, that's great. I don't need him to that's the thing about what we do, at least. I mean, I can't speak for all guys that use the label of MRA, but I don't need you to call yourself shit. I don't care what you call yourself. I don't care what the label is. You don't have to get down on the knee and kiss the ring and then wear the patch that says I'm an MRA. I don't give a fuck about that at all, right? If you care about justice and you care about what is true, and you are against narratives, no matter what those narratives are, that just make assumptions about society and then use those assumptions to try and engineer the way we move and what we do and what the government should be doing, etc., we're good. So yeah, but I appreciate it. If Nick Rakita cares about that, that's good enough for me. So thank you for the super chats. What else is there? There's Superchows. Your fundraiser's not up yet for this month, right, Allison?
Oh, no, it's not up yet.
Okay. All right. So Underwater Furry says, I wonder if Honey Badger Radio did a video on Kevin Samuels. I did a Badger Lodge where I talked about Kevin Samuels. It was on Friday. I think it's on Rumble. So you can go look it up there. And I'm also going to be talking to Obsidian, who is a black manosphere guy that's been talking about, men's issues in the black population in the United States for years. And I've had him on the show before, and he is a close friend of was a close friend of Kevin Samuels. And we're going to be meeting up probably next week to talk about him. So be on the lookout for that, because he knows him better than me. I know of him and I saw a couple clips, but I didn't really know him. So, all right. So I guess we should wrap this up.
Yep.
Allison? All right.
Yep, let's do that.
All right. Then you want to say some final thingies?
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you would like to support at the Badger just the tip. That's pretty much the best way to send something through to help us out until we get the monthly fundraiser up. And it goes to supporting the Badger Cave in particular. And for those of you who don't know, the Badger Cave is available to patrons. And if there is any need for a patron to, if they encounter some difficulties and they're within the radius, then it is available for them. Mm-hmm. So it once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And let's see what else. No, just that. Please do send something. If you send it after the show is over, we will endeavor to get to your comment and the next stream. And it is the best way to help us because we receive the most amount from that. And it also has the benefit of being seen by we just got a super chat.
Yeah. A super chow and a super chat.
A super chow. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead. I'll read the first super chow. And I'll just relay it to Random McCam later. Polaris gave us $5. This was yesterday on the news show. And he said, "Good doctor, you got to say the N word like a VTuber." I don't know how VTubers say it. But I may have, something else that might work better. Let me see. Yes. Is it this one? What's it? Ooh. Oh yeah.
Maybe you got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got get some bitches on your dick. Oh, better yet, maybe Tanisha will call your dog ass if she ever stop fucking with that brain surgeon, the lawyer she fucking with, nigga.
What? And Miss Ann of Arc gives us $10 and says, "Late to the party, but here are some shekels." Thank you, Miss Ann. And then Johnny Boy Quick Draw gives us $5 and says, "I object, hearsay." Well, that's done. We lost. But seriously, doesn't everyone shit the bed literally every now and then?
Yeah, exactly. What's one shit between friends?
Yeah, what is one turd between friends? Between lovers? I mean, for some people, it's a kink. I'm not going to shame anyone for that. So,
the lovers, the dreamers, and the turd.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's all the super chats and chows. So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sending those in. And again, if you would like to send us something in between shows, we will endeavor to read it. If you want us to give us a thank you, it is at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right. There you go,
all right.
Brian.
So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. That's on YouTube. Give us a follow over at our alternative media spaces, Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey.
Rumble,
I think not Odyssey. D Live and Rumble. What was that?
Rumble is the most critical because I'm thinking of making it the one that's going to have the most consistent archive.
Yeah.
At least our videos. Now we have honeybadgerradio.com will take you to our podcasts.
Yeah, and you can like listen to the audio. Yeah. And yeah, so just give us a follow and support on whatever kind of media you prefer. You know, I believe that YouTube is not a sustainable platform, but we'll stay on it until we can't. But you should be following us other places because
we'll ride the bear.
Yeah, we'll ride the bear until he kicks us off. But yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is that we won't stop making content until we're like absolutely unable to. And so if you don't see us on YouTube, look for us on alternative media. All right, thank you guys so much for coming on today's show. I look forward to your comments, and please share this video if possible. It's like the best thing you can do to help us out. And we will talk to you guys in the next video. I'm gonna go to an after show and hang out with the patrons. So talk to you guys later.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.